Hey, it's Aaron. Today I want to talk about the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq5. The Ioniq5 is an electric SUV. It's just about right sized. Most people will find it fits what they need in their lifestyle. It's not quite fully mid-size, but not compact either. So it fits kind of in that small category. So upsides to the Ioniq5 are very good acceleration. It's electric, so it's very fast. Also, it has a very nice interior, very comfortable. Seats 5, and you can get 4 comfortably in there and 5 with pretty good accommodation, so it's not terrible for 5 people. The person in the chump seat doesn't have a drive shaft running underneath, so there's nothing, the seat cushion is good. There's no hump to kind of make up for there. So it's really well done there. The cargo space is good, but not great. It gets panned by a lot of reviewers because this is more of a wagon style than a square body SUV, so you don't have the vertical space. But I would argue that most people don't ever use the vertical part of the space. It's the floor space that matters. And the floor space in here is okay. You'll get a week's worth of groceries for a family of like ours. We got a family of 5. We got all of our groceries in there without problems. So it's good. It's good enough for the size of the vehicle. If you're needing more space than what this has, you're probably looking at a bigger vehicle anyway. Couple of changes for 2025. The Ioniq5 now has the NACS plug, which is the North American charging standard. It's Tesla's plug. So that gives it access to more of the market in terms of where the charging is available. Also, you can get a converter so you can use both types of charging, which I would highly recommend. It gives you the broadest set of options for charging your vehicle and makes this a much easier vehicle to use. Where I live here in Wyoming, there aren't a whole ton of options, but there are pretty good ones here in Cheyenne. And the downer is that sometimes, like the Electrify America with the standard plug, so it's the J1772 plug, sometimes those are down or they're not working very well. Right next door, the next parking lot over, is the Tesla supercharger setup. And right next to that is a Rivian setup. So pretty open. Having that conversion gives you lots of options. Downers to this vehicle, besides it being electric, there are downers that come with an electric vehicle, and if you're not aware of those, I'll go over those in a minute. But as just a vehicle, some of the downers are, I don't like the rear visibility out the out the rear view mirror, because the pillars back there are very large, so you end up with this little tunnel. Not a big fan of that. It's also hard to look over your shoulder because the center pillar is pretty big. And then some of that is just because of my size. I'm 6'3", and because of where I have to adjust everything, it kind of puts the pillar right here, so I can't really see past it. Mirrors are good though, and the cameras are great in this. That honestly is the only big downer I have that's not related to this being an electric vehicle. So electric vehicle things that are specific to this vehicle and most electric vehicles. Range can be an issue. The EPA estimated range is very rarely what you will get in the real world. I have a hard time saying that, I don't know why. So I will give you real world ranges for me. This is with a mostly city driving but some highway mix. So it's not a 50-50, it leans more towards city. And I believe if you own one of these, you're probably going to be in the same boat, with the caveat that my version of city driving here in Wyoming means speeds up to 45 miles an hour. In a lot of places, that's not the case. You're actually going to be slower because you're in an actual city, not just a place that technically qualifies as a city because it has 60,000 people in it. Anyway, 260 miles of range, really easy to get in this. Under those circumstances, I had no issues keeping up with range in this car. Once it was on the freeway, the range starts to drop. That's true of every electric vehicle. Now, a cool thing that was added is fast charging up to 350 kilowatts is available, which is part of the NACS thing, which means that it charges really quick. If you're down to, say, 25%, I don't usually go below that. A lot of the numbers will talk about 10%. I feel if you're going down to 10%, you're just like people that drive around on empty and then wonder why they get stranded on the side of the road. 25% is kind of my cutoff. That's as low as I will go in any vehicle. So quarter tank, 25% charge, whatever. I do not go below that. So from 25% to about 80%, which is the recommended charging for just regular everyday driving. If you're not going to do a long road trip, you don't need to charge to 100%, and you'll help your batteries by doing so. That kind of charge can happen in 35-40 minutes in this vehicle from a supercharger that doesn't have other vehicles plugged into it. That's my caveat. That's the situation I was in. I don't know that you're going to get that fast of charging all the time, but you will get it most of the time. And then from my home level 2 charger, this took the full 41 amps the whole time in that area. So once it hit about 80%, it started to drop, which every one of them does that. They slow down as the battery gets fuller because it starts to heat up and expand, etc. Okay, so I personally was driving the XRT model in all-wheel drive. So all of this stuff is based on that. The base model has a smaller battery, doesn't have the same kind of range, runs about $44,000. I would recommend not buying that one. I would get the SEL, which is about in the middle. It has more stuff in the packaging, and it's not much more expensive. It's about $51,000. That is not a bad price for all the stuff you're getting. Now, is this $51,000 version comparable to a equivalent sized and capability gas model? Yes, in terms of all of the technology and everything else that's included. No on the price. You could get the same thing for about $5,000 cheaper in an equivalent gas version. I'm kind of generalizing. I'm not saying a specific model. I'm kind of averaging for this segment. So there is that. But that $5,000 is pretty easy to make up for in fuel savings. If you charge at home most of the time, which most EV drivers do, you will save in fuel big time. You probably get that $5,000 back inside the first 2, maybe 3 years, probably the first couple of years for most people. So that's something to think about without thinking about, are there any incentives for buying this car? Because in a lot of places there are. If you live in Colorado, California, Washington State, those kind of places, there are a bunch of programs that will basically give you money for buying this car. So those are cost considerations to think about right here. I really like this car. I think it is one of the best EVs I've driven, but to be completely honest, every single Hyundai and Kia EV that I have driven has been nail right on the head, perfect. They've been really, really good vehicles. So I'm really bullish on this one for the same reason. It doesn't get too modern or whatever. It's not too techy on the inside. It has really good infotainment. Has a pretty simple setup. I'm not a big fan of Hyundai's shift down underneath the steering wheel thing, but you get used to that pretty quickly. So it's not a terrible thing. It's just I prefer not to have that. But very well done. So this is a very, very good car. One of my favorites so far this year, actually. It's not quite the right size for my family. We need something slightly bigger with 3 teenagers, but it accommodated us, so it will work. So there you go. I don't think I have anything else to say about this. Yeah, Hyundai Ioniq 5. It's a really good vehicle if you can use an EV. All right, this has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon.